It appears I've gone back to my roots. I'm stealing somebody else's video style. Welp, it's September 2025, and that means Super Mario Bros. Has turned 40 this year. I was wondering how to celebrate this momentous occasion. I could update my Mario comic that I haven't worked on in several months, but nah. However, I do have a YouTube channel that I haven't used in a long time. Maybe I should do something on that. But what kind of video should I make? Well, I've been getting into a lot of ranking videos in the past year, especially stuff from Schaeferless and Neo Studio. Maybe I should do my own tier list? But what could I make a tier list on that's related to the original Super Mario Bros.? I mean, I have been hyperfixated on Friday Night Funkin' for the past 4 years. And there's a mod that I used to really like called Super Mario Bros. Funk Mix. Hey, that's it! I should do a ranking of Mario Funk Mix's OST.
Let's not pay attention to the fact that I procrastinated on this video for so long that Neo ended up getting to it first. I just want to make it clear, I haven't seen that video yet since I don't want it to have any impact on my opinions.
Anyways, Funk Mix. A Mario mod made early enough in the modding scene that it barely has any influence from Sonic EXE, which is something I can't really say for a good majority of mods nowadays. It hasn't aged the best, but it also isn't a bad mod. Heck, there are some absolute gems in here. Just to be clear here, this video is entirely my opinion. If you disagree with anything I say, that's alright. You are entitled to your own opinion as well. In fact, if this video inspires you to make your own tier list because you disagree with me so heavily, that's great. I want to see what everyone has to say, whether it's similar or different from what I think. Now then, let's not waste any more time, let's get her ranked. Or something like that. You know, I originally had a whole defense written up for Wrong Warp, but then I listened to it again and good God, what was I thinking? Even just putting it in like low B, what was I thinking? For starters, the vocals are even more compressed than they already were, which makes them really unpleasant to listen to. The instrumental is also very overwhelming. There's a lot of stuff playing at the same time, and the whole song is just generally chaotic. I know that's what they were trying to go for, but like, just because that's what they were trying to go for doesn't mean I like it. Then there's the melodies. While there are a few pretty good parts of this song, there are also quite a few parts that sound really messy, and it's just not fun to listen to. I will say, the instrumental is good, but there are times in the song where it overpowers the vocals quite a bit. I don't hate Wrong Warp, I just think it's too chaotic for my liking. Hey look, it's Hop Hop Heights, what I was originally gonna put for my last place spot. Well, not originally, I had a tier list on Pixlart that's really outdated now that has a last place spot that I'm gonna get into a little bit later. But Hop Hop Heights, it's a thing that exists. There are really only a couple of turns in here that I actually enjoy, one of them being reused from another song from this mod, and it doesn't even sound as good here because of how much faster it's going. You can't really linger on the melody because, you know, like, it's over in like 2 seconds. There's another turn that I like because the song lets you linger on the notes for longer, which makes the melodies there leave more of an impact. The instrumental is pretty good for the most part, but in some cases it mimics the vocals at its worst parts. In particular, there's this one part of the song where Bob-omb's fuse gets lit, and he just sounds out of tune here. Also, Bob-omb's vocals. I like the idea of using the Bob-omb Battlefield instrumental for them, but in practice it doesn't sound that good. I don't think this is a bad song, don't get me wrong, it's just a song that has a lot of issues, and not one I find myself revisiting very often. Bricks and Lifts is less noticeably rough than the other two spots below it, though I'm still ranking it down here because I do still have problems with it. Firstly, I just want to mention it here because it's the first time it's really been relevant. I don't like Mario's chromatic in this mod too much. It just sounds a bit off to me. I think it has something to do with the fact that it's sampled from Teach's Typing and not a more recent game. Not to mention that there are a lot of points in some of his songs where he goes a little out of tune when Boyfriend sounds completely fine. As for the song itself, well, for a good majority, it's just a remix of the original Super Mario Bros. Underground theme, which isn't a bad thing, obviously. I think in a lot of cases that motif has been used to great extent, and that's certainly the case here. I really like how jazzy it sounds. However, this is also the only song in this week that's mostly a remix, which is a bit odd compared to the mostly original songs that it's sandwiched between. Also, the original melodies that are in this song are just not doing it for me. Just like with Hop Hop Heights, they just sound odd. However, it's not as much of an issue here as the tempo is a bit of a better pace here. The instrumental is also pretty good on its own, and I like how it sounds. It's just that the vocals are not doing it many favors. You know, I used to really like Mushroom Plains. I thought it was a nice, chill song, perfect for the first song of the mod. Then I played it back a couple times and I started noticing some issues. I'll start with my positives. The main motif of this song is genuinely really good. It's very catchy and it's one of the first things I remember when I think of this mod's OST. I have to applaud Crystal for making the choice to not remix the original Overworld theme for this because of the song's oversaturation, because the vibe of this one is great. However, the melodies and the vocals are really what killed the song for me. A lot of the songs in this mod have a very unique issue where it sounds like a concept for it was made, but then upon trying to extend it, they couldn't really think of a way to do so. And that's certainly the case here with Mushroom Plains. I don't know for certain that's what's going on here. I don't want to come off as an accusation or anything, but that's just the vibe that I get from it. That being said, the reason why I'm ranking it above Bricks and Lifts is because the instrumental is fantastic. It's a fun little chiptune, and I really like the added detail of using the Mario Maker edit synth as one of the instruments. It's a shame that in the full song it sounds like the Suno AI synth. Not saying that's what it is, because Suno AI didn't exist yet, but it's still unfortunate listening back to it. Otherwise though, it's very jazzy and very Mario, if that makes any sense.
Oh, Sonic,
Mario,
what's up
what
with
is
blue
up, my
furred
diggity
edgety
dog?
hog?
So, back when it first came out, Funk Mix was decently popular. And with most popular things, there's bound to be something that's just a tad overrated. I'm probably gonna get flamed for this take, but here goes. I do not care for cross-console clash. It insists upon itself. I mean, it's perfectly fine, but is it really that good? I mean, I'm thinking about it now and it just... I don't know, man. I just can't find anything outstanding or great or even that good to say about it. It's just kinda alright. Tolerable. Sonic's chromatic is fine, it's serviceable for the song, and I've already talked about how I don't like Mario's chromatic that much. I do like how their first section actually sounds like they're beefing with each other, but the instrumental is just kinda uninteresting. Not even just for this part, it's uninteresting for almost the entire song. I also like how many references to both franchises there are in this song, but at the same time, whenever a reference does show up, it doesn't have the same impact as when other songs make similar references. What else is there? Oh yeah, Luigi and Tails are in this song. I actually really like both of their chromatics. They sound exactly how I'd think they would if they had FNF vocals. I also like how the song chills out during this part, like they don't have a rivalry the same way that Mario and Sonic do. At the same time though, there's also a duet part in this section that just sounds too much. That's really the main issue that I have with Cross Console Clash. Whenever something cool happens in it, there's also something about it that makes it feel less cool. I'll say this much though, it didn't age as bad as I thought it would. I keep expecting it to hit a point where it'll be really bad, but it doesn't. I don't know, I think I'm just too used to Mamie's cover of it. Ugh. Cross Console Clash isn't bad, but I wouldn't say it's even near the best of this OST.
Mario? You almost dented my...
Destruction Dance could have been great, but you see, it's like onions. It has layers as though I am ranking it so low. But let's start with positives. The first part of this song with Foreman Spike is really good, genuinely on par with some of the stuff in the upper half of this list. Now, this is yet another remix of a song from the Mario franchise, this time coming from the DDR game, but I don't really mind it as much here since this is a free play song, and it's also, inspired by another rhythm game, though it being a remix does bring it down in the overall ranking. Spike's chromatic is also really, really good. I love how it sounds, especially with the slide notes and the hold notes where he starts really quiet and then gradually gets louder. It doesn't really sound like him, but could the team have predicted the movie? I didn't think so. This sounds like a really good song, so why am I ranking it so low? Well, my big issue comes in once Waluigi joins. There's so many things about this part of the song that tank the whole thing for me. Waluigi's chromatic sounds really unflattering. The melodies sound out of key and all over the place, and the instrumental has way too many things going on all at once. It's a shame too, because there's a part of the original Destruction Dance that could have been implemented, and I think it would have made Waluigi's section a lot better, but that's just me. Credit where credit's due though, the instrumental isn't just the original Destruction Dance, they actually remixed it specifically for the song, though even with that in mind, it doesn't fix the problems that I have.
Man, I spent hours of my life stomping.
Hey look, it's another overrated song. Okay, in all seriousness, I actually like Koopa Armada. I don't think it's as good as people say it is, but it's still pretty good. I'm gonna start off with my negatives because honestly there's very few of them. My biggest issue with this song is Bowser's chromatic. It doesn't really sound like him at all, and it sounds even weirder when his roar from the games is mixed in because the contrast is just that much more noticeable. If they use something a little more similar to the one used in Infernal Bout, I think I'd definitely rank this song higher, but as it stands right now, his chromatic is just serviceable. Also, there are a couple duet parts that sound a little messy, though that doesn't apply to all of them. Other than that, this is a pretty good song. I really like how much of a threatening atmosphere it has. It doesn't sound like you're just fighting Bowser here, it feels like you're going up against him and his entire fleet. The main melody of the song is also really memorable, and there are just some really good turns in the song. I don't have a lot to say on this song, it's just an enjoyable listen. I wouldn't put it any higher than B tier, but I don't mind whenever it comes up.
This is a castle, but it's not
From Bowser.
Lethal Lava Layer is so insanely close to A tier. There's literally one singular real problem that I have about it that keeps me from ranking it higher. That one issue is the first turn. It just sounds awful. I know it's a reference to the original castle theme, but firstly, the castle theme from the first game is kinda mid. It's the weakest one of the franchise in my opinion. And secondly, Mario's chromatic just sounds really unpleasant singing that part. This opening scared me off from revisiting this song because I thought the rest of it would be just as bad. But aside from that, this song is great! First off, I want to point out that Mario's chromatic for the rest of the song is actually used rather well. It's definitely the best he sounds between the original 3 songs. Second off, the melodies. What do I even need to say? They go insanely hard. It sounds intense without being too intense, like Mario's mad but he isn't really a threat per se. Now, I still have a few negatives. The melodies still have that funk mix weirdness that I've mentioned before, and Mario's chromatic still sounds a little off at times, but with a few tweaks, I can definitely imagine myself putting this in S tier. But with some of the nitpicks that I have, and the downright abysmal opening, I'll settle for high B.
Get killed by something that's in World 1-1.
First level is such a fun song. It really gives off the vibe of a child excitedly showing off the level they made in Mario Maker for the first time. To my shock, when I was making this ranking, it's even closer to A tier than Lethal Lava Lair. But I can't confidently put it in A tier because at some points it does kind of lose me. Let's start with my positives though. Mario sounds even better in this song than he did in Lethal Lava Lair. I think his chromatic works the best when he's singing fast notes, and first level has plenty of those, so that's a plus. Also, the instrumental is just super fun. It sounds chaotic without putting me off from listening to the song. See, wrong warp, that's how you do it. Also, I just love the detail of adding the new Super Mario Bros. Boss sounds in there. It gives the song a lot of personality. So, I enjoy this one quite a bit. What's keeping it out of A tier though? Well, here's the thing. This song has a lot of tone shifts. This is one of the few times outside of Wrong Warp where I can pretty confidently argue that the messiness of the song was intentional, since it was probably trying to give off the vibe that it's sort of amateurish, but still, it just doesn't mesh too well for me, and it still comes off as off when I listen to the song. That's really my only complaint though, and it doesn't stop me from finding enjoyment in first level.
It's me, Gorbin, Benry Calzone!
Let's go! We got some Mari Zero representation in this mod. I really enjoy Portal Power, it's really fun. I don't think that Mario sounds as good here as he did during first level, however, it's still put to good use. However, I think that the song immensely makes up for it in the melody department. They're so bouncy and vibrant, and hey, there aren't any messy parts in this song. That immediately gives it an edge over some of the other songs in the OST. The instrumental is also very good. It works very well with the rest of the song, and I like the detail of using the elevator music during the intro. If I'm gonna be real, I'm not too familiar with the Portal series. I've heard it's good, but I've never played it myself before, or really ever seen any gameplay of it. So if there are any other references in the song aside from the elevator music that I'm missing, that's my bad. That's just the only one that I caught. However, unfamiliarity aside, I think that it speaks volumes about the quality of the song that even without bias, it's still the first A tier of the video. My only real issue is that the end repeats the same motif too many times. I mean, it's a good motif, but it's not so good that I'd want to hear it again 3 times in a row. That's not that big of an issue, but with how short the song is, that does bring it down a little. This also probably would have been given an S tier if that ending part weren't there. But a weak ending isn't as bad as a bad intro, so I think this gets a pass. A tier in my eyes. So there's a small trend in this mod where every time Luigi shows up, he steals the show. And this song is no exception because Deep Deep Voyage is fantastic. Since I've been complaining about Mario's chromatic this whole video, let's talk about Luigi's first. How does he hold up? He actually sounds pretty great, exactly how he should. Again, I think it might have something to do with the games that they take samples from. In Luigi's case, his vocals are sampled from Mario Kart 8, so they used a more modern version of his voice for his chromatic. Therefore, he sounds more correct. Like, seriously, why did they sample Mario Teach's typing for Mario? That's so weird. Anyways, the song itself. Yeah, it's pretty great. I think that the instruments that were chosen for this song really conveyed that this is supposed to be taking place underwater, and it also feels pretty dire. You know, like the docks. Speaking of dire docks, everybody says that it's referenced in this song, but I've never noticed it, though I can see somewhat of a similarity. I think it's also paced really well. I never feel like it's too short or dragging on for too long. I think that it's just the right runtime. And let's not forget the melodies. They are insanely catchy. From start to finish, this song is just a blast to listen to, and it's just very memorable. I don't even have any criticisms really. It's just a great song all around, and it's just gonna get better from here. We are now approaching S tier with this one. This and the next song I can easily see being up there with my top 3, I just have the tiniest of complaints. And the first of those is Booblets. I used to think that it was pretty overhyped, however it's since grown on me, and I can't deny that it's a certified vibe. I like the detail that one of the instruments is shared between this and two-player game, linking that song with this one considering Luigi's history with ghosts. Also, two-player game is just straight up mentioned in this song, so I guess that further links these two. Okay, let's go over the song's main strength. The melodies are catchy. Even just thinking about this song as I write the script has me tapping my foot and bobbing my head. It's just that good. Also, let's not forget the Thorns motif. Why does it go so hard here? Like, every single time I listen to this song, it just hits, man. This doesn't just go for Booblets either. Every song that I've heard incorporate the Thorns motif uses it extremely well, except for Execution. I have some thoughts on Execution, I just won't go into them in this video. Well, the Big Boo's voice doesn't really sound like a boo. I'll let that slide since I feel like it would be pretty difficult to make a chromatic that sounds both accurate and good for that guy. As for why I'm not putting it in S tier, well, I feel like the song has some of that trademark funk mix messiness that just kinda loses me every time I hear it. It's not that bad, and it's not that distracting, but it is still distracting, and it puts me off every time. But still, Booblets, great song. Don't really have much more to say about it, I just really like it.
No! No! Oh God, no! No way! No way!
Bullet Time has me ascending. This song has such a good atmosphere. It's crazy. The instrumental goes wild. The melodies are fantastic. I love the reverb on Boyfriend's vocals because it really helps drive home the atmosphere and the fact that they're in the sky. Bullet Bill's chromatic is really good and I like it. All around it's just very, very good. It is quite literally on the cusp of S tier, especially with some of the faster and more intense parts. I love them so much, but that's the thing. It's on the cusp of S tier, which means it's not quite there. So what's stopping me from ranking it that high? Well, there's just one small gripe that I have with the song that kind of turns into a big issue the more I listen to it. The mixing is just kind of awful. There are many points in the song where the instrumental completely buries the vocals and I can't hear either Boyfriend or Bullet Bill that well. This is especially a problem with Bullet Bill's vocals since his vocals kind of blend in with the instrumental, which makes it much harder to hear him. But aside from that one complaint, I love Bullet Time a lot, and I definitely rank it in the top 3 if that one problem was fixed. As it stands now though, it's just sort of that. But, from this point on, we are only getting S tiers. So, let's not waste any more time, and get into the top 3.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
So, why do people not like green screen again? I mean, I think they don't like it anyways. I'm never good at deciphering community consensus. And also, that question isn't to demean people for having that opinion, because I'm genuinely curious, because me personally, I love green screen. This song feels mysterious. I listen to it and I don't feel like these people really pose a threat, but at the same time the vibe is a little off-putting and you're not really sure if you're in any danger or not, which really captures the vibe of the Game Boy camera people. There are also really off-putting sounds in the instrumental at times, which I think helps the vibe of the song tremendously. I also like the guy's chromatic with how quiet and somewhat human he sounds. It makes you question what's going on even more. Not to mention, the song is just really catchy. I love every melody that's in here. I forgot to mention this in the bullet time section, but with that song onwards, there's none of that messiness that defined the main week, which helps me enjoy the songs even more. And can we just talk about that drop? Oh my god, that drop goes crazy. It's just, I don't even know what to say. It's just phenomenal. I love green screen so much. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. I just want to know why. Put your answers in the comments. I want some of that algorithm attention, please. Fellas, it's time for another Luigi song. Two-Player Game was always the best song of this OST. It was the best in the original Funk Mix, it's the best of Funk Mix Deluxe, and to this day it's still the best. At least of the base roster. Obviously there's one more song that I like more than this. First of all, Luigi's chromatic is used super well. He was already good in Cross Console Clash and Deep Deep Voyage, but I just wanted to comment on it because this one was one of the first songs made for the mod, so it being this high up is honestly astounding to me. The instrumental is great, it's super fun and catchy, even just on its own, and it's also just recognizable. Like, there's a certain instrument in here that you can hear and you'll just think, oh yeah, that's the one from Two-Player Game. The melodies are top-notch and catchy, and they're also just really memorable. From start to finish, I can just remember Two-Player Game really well, and that pop-off section hits hard every time I hear it. The only complaint that I have with the song is, I want more! What do you mean Two-Player Game is only a minute and a half long? I need more! I think that if my only complaint is that I just want more of it though, that's when you know you have something great on your hands. Overall, this is just a great song. However, it's not my number one of this mod. Boy, I wonder what that is! Since the dawn of man, we have always wondered one question that has been posed, one that perplexed us for many, many centuries. Yet, with the knowledge and work of modern science, we finally have the answer to that question. What if Saster and Kiwi Quest worked on a song together? Is anyone surprised? At all? I feel like we all could have predicted that Game Over would be first. First of all, this intro is great. This is by far the best usage of Mario's chromatic in the whole mod because even if it was unintentional, it makes use of how wrong he sounds, though the extra bit crushing does help with that as well. This intro sounds mysterious and off-putting, as if something bad might happen, but you don't quite know what. Then, Mario starts looking a little weirder. His voice gets lower, and his whole vibe seems more threatening, as if he's leading you into something. Then, MX reveals himself, and the chase is on. And everything after this point is pretty much just perfect. I can hear both Saster and Kiwi Quest's influences on the song, and they're both killing it. I like how MX's chromatic still has a resemblance to Mario's, while still clearly being different. Also, this song has a lot of shifts, whether it be changes in the tone or the pitch, and all of them feel seamless. They never throw me out of the song. Actually, for how many shifts there are in this 3-minute song, it all just feels cohesive. Back when this song came out, this was the MX song, at least to me, and to a certain extent, it still somewhat feels like that. In fact, back when it came out, it was mostly agreed upon that this was one of the best songs in the whole community, and while I don't agree with that sentiment right now, I can confidently keep it in S tier. It's fantastic, it's memorable, and overall, I think that Game Over is deserving of being my #1 spot. And that's a wrap. For how old this mod is, it surprisingly held up really well. I don't think it's one of my favorites anymore, but I still like it a lot. Here's my tier list. Overall, Funked Mix has a pretty solid soundtrack. While there are certainly some songs that don't hold up very well, I don't think they hinder the rest of them in any way. This was a fun video to work on. As I said earlier, I love Mario, I love FNF, and through this, I learned that I love making tier lists. While this definitely took me far longer than it should have, I'm glad that I was able to air out my thoughts. I have a couple announcements that I want to get to at the end of this video, so if you're only here for the ranking, you can click off now. But if you're not, cool, thanks for the watch time, guys. I think I'm going to try to do these tier list videos more often. If I'm going to watch so many of them from other people, I might as well write my own, right? I've got a plan for what I'm gonna cover throughout October, but we've still got some time in September, right? I should probably make another one this month. Well, yeah, I am planning on that too, but it's definitely gonna be a lot smaller of a project. If this video gets any views whatsoever, I'll bet that the next one won't in the slightest, but if you've made it this far, I'd highly recommend watching it anyways, if you find this kind of stuff interesting. Next time, I'll be covering the Boss Battle OST, and if you don't know what Boss Battle is, then I don't blame you. It's a very small thing on Scratch made by a couple mutuals of mine. It'll be less of a full critical ranking and more of a little bit of advice. If you'd like to see that, stick around. If not, I'll see you in October when I start covering some Versus Sonic EXE mods. Until next time, thank you so much for watching my video. Bye bye!